A few months ago, I received an email from a woman named Emily Carter. She said she'd never shared what happened after her father died. She wasn't looking for sympathy, only for someone to finally listen. I've read a lot of stories, but this one felt different. It sounded true in the worst possible way. December in Fairfield, Ohio. A gray sky hung low over the cemetery. Emily stood beside her mother, Margaret, her umbrella trembling in the wind. Richard Carter, husband, father, was gone. Everyone bowed their heads, everyone except Margaret. She just stared, no tears, no words. Emily thought maybe she'd cried too much already. She was wrong. 1 week later, they met in Mr. Lewis's office. Shelves of law books, a ticking clock, stale air. To my wife, Margaret, the house and our savings. To my daughter, Emily, a sealed envelope. Read it alone. The lawyer's voice wavered. Your father was very specific about that instruction. His eyes met hers, then looked away. Something shifted inside her, a seed of dread. That night, rain tapped against her window as she unsealed the envelope. Inside was a single sheet in her father's handwriting. Go to the old house in Windermere. The truth is there. Her mother stood in the doorway, pale under the lamp. Mom, what truth? Margaret turned away without a word. Emily folded the note and finally cried. Windermere sat 2 hours north, a small town swallowed by fog and fields. The drive was silent. Every sign and mile marker looked unfamiliar. She remembered her father teaching her to drive these roads, laughing when she stalled. She smiled. And then the smile broke. When she reached the house, the windows were dark, the porch sagging under frost. The attic smelled of dust and wood smoke. A small chest waited beneath a beam of light. Her name was carved into it. The key lay taped beneath the mantel, just where her father used to hide candy. Inside, a photo of her mother and her Uncle David. Beneath it, a cassette labeled for Emily. The night it all changed. When she pressed play, her father's voice filled the room. Emily, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. There's something your mother never told you. When she said you were mine, I already knew you weren't, but I loved you anyway. Then, silence. Emily drove home in silence. Her mother was at the kitchen table, tea gone cold. Who is David? Margaret froze. You found the tape. She told her Richard had known all along, and that he'd asked her to keep the truth buried. He wanted peace, she said, and peace needs silence. Emily's voice broke. Peace for who? Margaret couldn't answer. She only said, if you still need answers, go to him. The road wound through miles of forest. Each bend felt like a question she didn't want answered. The wipers clicked a slow rhythm against the windshield. Somewhere ahead waited the man who'd broken every promise. David opened the door before she could knock. He looked older than his years, eyes red-rimmed, hands shaking. You look just like him, he said, then turned away. Inside, the fire burned low. Your father trusted me, he began. He always did. And I betrayed him. He spoke of a time before the marriage, how he and Margaret had been close, how jealousy and weakness ruined everything. She married Richard, he said, but she never told him about us until years later. When she found out she was pregnant, we both knew he swallowed hard. You're my daughter, Emily. Her breath caught. The fire popped once and went quiet. Richard knew, David said. He could have left. He didn't. He chose to raise you, to love you, anyway. I've spent every day since wishing I'd been half the man he was. Emily stood, unable to speak. The only sound was the slow crackle of wood turning to ash. Emily drove until the forest turned back into highway. The sunrise looked cold and distant. "You're my daughter." The words echoed louder than the engine. For 28 years, she'd lived one story. Now every memory had changed shape. Her father's laugh, her mother's voice, every photo on the wall. She realized the man she called Dad had known everything and loved her anyway. That thought broke her more than the lie itself. She stayed there until the sun rose fully, then drove toward the cemetery. Emily parked near the old oak that stood just outside the cemetery fence. The branches reached over the graves, shadows long in the fading light. She chose that spot because it was quiet, no cars, no people, just wind and dry leaves moving across stone. She walked until she found his headstone. The letters of his name caught the last of the sun. For a long time she said nothing. All the words, anger, confusion, love, stayed locked behind her teeth. Finally, she whispered, "You should have told me." The air carried the words away. She knelt, brushed the leaves aside, and stayed until the sky turned dark. "I know now," she said softly, "and I still love you." A gust of wind swept through the trees, scattering the leaves in a slow spiral. For a moment, it sounded like breathing. She turned back to the car without looking behind her. The wind quieted. The world went still. Some truths don't set us free. They just show us who we really are. Emily never tried to fix what was broken with her mother. She never saw David again, but every November she drives back here. She doesn't bring flowers, just silence, because that's how love sounds when there's nothing left to forgive.